to discuss the 2024 budget with RCBC Chief Economist Michael Ricafort. Mike, great to have you with us. Happy holidays. Will this budget, in its present shape and form, which is of course from taxpayers' money like you and me and our viewers, work for the people?
Well, yeah, by the way it's structured, Rico, it's always an investment approach. First, if you look at the growth rate, it's 9.5% higher than last year. And the equivalent to that, to the country's economy, is almost 22%. So this is something that's very important to pump prime or stimulate the economy, so to speak. And that's the biggest pivot, so to speak, also from a fiscal point of view. And well, considering that the biggest allocation goes to education, so that's very important because that reaps the biggest return,
Right.
or gains for the country for the coming years, and followed by infrastructure also. It's an investment approach that would boost productivity of the economy, and of course, for the poorest of the poor, like the nutrition program, and also for, well, because education is the biggest equalizer.
That's right.
Our
So
economy right now,
education, malnutrition, poverty. So this budget will really lift more of our kababayans from poverty and illiteracy.
well, we need that badly, Rico, right now, because our demographics are very much favorable. Where we have the 12th largest population in the world, more than 110 million, and we already reached demographic sweet spot or demographic dividend since 2015, and we're the last major economy in the region to do so. And that would mean we're coming from a low base. Our per capita income is it's more than $3,000, and we need to move towards middle income country status. So we're
are
coming
you
from a low
saying
base
then,
relative to our neighbors.
are you saying then that this 2024 budget will further narrow the gap between the rich and the poor?
Well, supposedly, Rico, because of the intervention measures that are fairly new, so to speak, especially for the poorest of the poor. And well, now, well, first and foremost, our population is relatively young, less than 25 years old. So there's so much promise in our economy. And the demographic sweet spot would suggest that our economic growth would be at least 6% in the foreseeable future, maybe for the next 5, 10 or so years. That would build up the foundation to move towards that, well, in the next couple of years, moving towards middle-income country status, and that would position the Philippines for higher rankings.
So how will this
around the
how will this boost the Philippine economy next year? Because the Bangko Central's outlook for this year is between 6 to 7%, which we will not attain. And many economists are saying it would be between 5.3 to 5.5%. By how much will this budget kickstart the economy in 2024, from your point of view?
Well, this is very important when it comes to, well, it's an increment or a growth of 9.5%, and government spending, is especially on infrastructure and other social services, would be one of the major growth drivers. We have seen that in the third quarter. Suddenly, the economic growth is accelerated to 5.9%. From 4.3% in the second quarter, because, well, learning from the lessons early this year, there was some form of government underspending, especially relatively lower utilization rates, and building on that lesson. And well, it's very important to accelerate spending
So Mike,
on all fronts.
All right, but what about this critical additional 450 billion pesos of unprogrammed funds? Will it help the economy? Because you hear Senator Kiko Pimentel saying that this is unconstitutional, and he will petition the Supreme Court to take this out from the budget.
Well, what's really important, Rico, first, it should really serve the purpose of, well, alleviating more people out of poverty. Well, especially in a very constructive way. Well, a relief may be fine because of to deal with relatively higher prices or inflation, and of course, well, it goes hand in hand as well in further boosting the spending that would well, because the biggest gains
Mike,
would be.
but Mike, My question is, can these unprogrammed funds of additional unprogrammed funds of 450 billion pesos be redirected to the so-called confidential funds without transparency, accountability, or even no audit?
Well, it's very important to have also, of course, the highest form of governance and integrity and transparency on the data. Of course, that's part of making everything sustainable, both economic growth and development, and well, given the need to adhere to the ESG standards, and that includes also governance and transparency and accountability. So, yeah, it's very important, of course, to measure all of these. How does what's the sensitivity analysis? Maybe for more than 200 billion pesos worth of budget, that's equivalent to about 1 percentage point increment to economic growth. That's why it's very important to really make sure that it really achieves the purpose of boosting economic growth and development, especially for the poorest sectors of society.
So Mike,
that's the ultimate.
And that is the ultimate goal, no? That this budget will be used on time, properly, and for the good of the Filipino people. Thank you so much for your insights on this 2024 national budget. RCBC Chief Economist Michael Ricafort.